Hey, whoa, folks, let's step into the frame right here. This is Paint with Alex. I'm Alex. Welcome to episode 8. Well, I'm going to title this one Cat. What was it? Cat? There. We're going to revisit this painting. This painting that we started, Cats from Black and White to Color. Cats are going to teach us something today, because remember we started this painting in monochrome, black and white. And we're going to transition into working with it in a color palette, in color. You know, that's the thing. It's like we start a painting and maybe you do an underpainting, but then you kind of don't know what to do next. Now, if we go to the next slide, you'll see that, here's a monochrome painting. This is our Washington Crossing the Delaware copy. And what we did last week was we colorized it with what we call an oil paint glazing. So then maybe it already went to the next slide. It's in color. There it is. You maybe go back to the black and white and then back to the color. Black and white, color. Now you see how as you go back and forth there's a structure that is maintained in the black and white and the color. I have heard other artists call that, and I call it the bones of the composition, okay? The black and white structure holds the piece together, okay? We could change all the colors of everything in here, but if we keep on with the structure in the black and white, the bone structure, we can change the skin on the outside, the color, and the painting will hold up. And so learning about the glazing is a very simple step that the old masters employed. If we go to the next slide, then we have our cat that we painted a couple of weeks ago. And then we gave it a couple of glazes. On the next slide, you'll see it's slightly colored. So we did this with monochrome, and we mixed a black with ultramarine and burnt umber, and then we used white. And we used our grayscale to compose this picture where everything in the foreground is inside, indoors. There's a bright window here, and the cats are indoors, and nothing indoors is lighter than middle gray, even what maybe appears to be this white trim. And then I glazed it. We used ultramarine and burnt umber mixed together and with white, but then I glazed outside the window with ultramarine, and I glazed inside the room with burnt umber, and just to create a little warm, cool separation. You know, I didn't want to go too much color on it. I just wanted to kind of emphasize that you got a warm interior, cool exterior. I can't remember what the next slide is. Hit it. Yeah! So then we're going to use not only the colorized tinted underpainting as a way to get color. The next thing you got to do is you got to move into opaque, and that's what we kind of learned here, where we had our we had just the local color Alex here, and then if we go to the next slide, we have Alex with light shining over his back, sort of like what's going on here, I guess. And using the wonders of chiaroscuro, which is the next slide. There it is. I'll step out of frame here, or at least get off to the side. Chiaroscuro. We explained this in episode, I think, 4 and 5, I believe, where you have local colors, and then you create two ranges of them. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, you can get up to speed by watching our previous episodes 4 and 5 that explain this concept. And we're going to use our Dirt Rainbow palette, which is our next slide. There's my Dirt Rainbow, guys. Do a screen grab of that or something. That, if you were stuck on a deserted island and it was just Gilligan and the professor and Marianne and you got some paints, you're the stranded artist on Gilligan's Island. Believe me, this is the palette that you want, because you're probably going to find all these shades of dirt right there on Gilligan's Island. Yellow dirt, orange dirt, red dirt, pink dirt, blue dirt, green dirt, brown dirt. 5 dirt, 6 dirt. And 90% of your old master paintings and all those paintings you see in museums, I mean, up until any time, dirt rainbow. Explore it. We're going to explore it today. But before that, I wanted to just go, let's just go to the wide shot. I'm going to talk a little bit about an exciting trip. I took a trip, and I can bring back news directly to you guys from, I went up to San Francisco because I am a big fan of Henri Matisse. And there was a show up there at the SF MoMA. So I drove up to San Francisco in the old car and stayed a couple nights in Oakland. It was a super fast trip, barely had any time. It was tiring and whatever. But I got to see the Matisse Diebenkorn smackdown. I don't know what you want to call it, no holds barred. Matisse versus Diebenkorn, who's going to come out on top? I think that my overall feeling was that, fly just landed on my glasses, is that Diebenkorn, come on, it's hard to live up to Matisse. He's so incredible. But it was fascinating for me to see again paintings that I'd maybe seen a long time ago, like when I was in New York 20 years ago or something, and I saw a Matisse painting then, and then I see it now. And I think then I was not as obsessed with the grayscale as I am now. I'm going to put this just on my forehead. I was not as obsessed with the grayscale as I have become. We'll go to the close-up shot here. As I have become lately, I have come to have a deeper, more wondrous understanding and appreciation for it and exploration for it. So I went up to San Francisco and I brought my grayscale with me. And it goes from black to white. And I wanted to take it and hold it up to the Matisses, right in their face. And if you're clever, you can do it so that it's got the same lighting. You sort of hold it like that. But don't get too close, or the security guards will get mad at you. But I held this up to the paintings because I wanted to see, like, how bright are these? Because I'm curious, and I've learned about some of these tricks, like how you can sneak a bunch of color into white and have people think it's white and it isn't white, but they think it's white. And that was what blew me away, was these paintings that Matisse painted. There was nothing lighter than that in the painting. If I come up here, right there. If at this end is pure white and this end is as black as I can get, the lightest light in almost every painting, just about the lightest light. I'm getting some glare here. Oh, and a fly, of course, landed on it. Look at that, dumbass fly. Nothing lighter than this. Oh, where was it? Right here. Fascinating. And that was either, there's a couple, I don't know exactly why. That is, maybe they've always been that key, and it just never dawned on me. It didn't occur to me. Because you can easily trick a viewer into thinking something is white that is not white, not even close to white. Or the paintings got darker. I mean, they're over 100 years old, some of them, That there was some of these earlier works from his student years that were 1898, 1900-something too. And that's like 110 years old. Painting's going to get a little darker over time. Or, since I am just exposed to these paintings, frankly, by reproduction mostly, maybe most of the reproductions are wrong. I mean, frankly, as I was saying to Nolan earlier when we were talking about this, where's that tennis racket? We got this electric tennis racket. I might use it to whack these flies. The reproductions could be wrong because the person photographing it might be setting the key to what they think is something white and it's darker, or it could be that they just look better by sort of lightening them up a little bit as far as the limitations of of printed reproductions. They're certainly being reproduced the best ever now, better than any time in Matisse's lifetime. But I found that fascinating, guys, something to think about. You know, he's sneaking something in there. You know, he knows what he's doing. We might be able to bring this idea to play in a later show as far as setting a key with your white on the light end. But right now we're gonna play with something else. We're gonna play with this lower key here because we got the kitty cats that are indoors. Now, so the dirt rainbow is the palette that we're going to work with. We're not even going to use all the colors of the dirt rainbow. If we go to the top down, then you'll see that we got the yellow ochre right here. We got the burnt umber. We got Indian red, and ultramarine blue, and some terra rosa. We might not even use it. I don't think I need any terra verte, which is an earth green, as opposed to terra rosa, which is the earth rose red. Then Indian red is more of a pinkish, and terra rosa or Venetian red or those colors, they are more orangey. But I don't think I'm gonna, well, I forgot to bring burnt sienna, so don't have any burnt sienna, but we got yellow ochre. Now what I did, because I think part of the fun of painting is fiddling with the values, and I'm finding that there's just so many simple ways to achieve that. And so with this composition that we set up. Now, by the way, if we go back to the slide and we roll back to the Washington crossing the Delaware, this cat composition is basically the same composition as Washington crossing the Delaware. You have a very bright background, and then you have a dark foreground. There. Light background, dark foreground. So Washington here is backlit by this bright morning sky, and our kitty cat in the window here is backlit by the bright light coming from behind the cat. So what we did to arrange that more complicated painting with George Washington crossing Delaware, we set ourselves up with the same effect of composition, but with the cats it's a lot simpler. And then we glazed it, like I said. And the next thing, sometimes when people get to the glazing stage, that's when they tend to like freeze up. They get into washes and then they don't know kind of where to go next. And one thing that we're going to learn today is we're going to use this frame of mind that we have as far as how chiaroscuro works. And we're going to set a certain value key. Then we're going to work opaquely on top of this, and it'll help us to overcome some of the misconceptions that we have. So now I want to take this cat painting here, and I want to make it look like there's a like pink wall, let's say. Pink wall and white, or sort of maybe like a warm trim color right there. It'll be maybe a little pinker than this. But here's where we get right off the bat, right out of the gate. You know, it's very easy to make that connection between the local color, what we think a local color is, versus what we actually need to be painting that local color to get that illusion in the context of a painting. So pink walls, I want to paint this pink. So that means, like, if I wanted to mix a pink, I would probably take, let's say like a real pink. I'm going to take maybe some of this alizarin crimson here, and I'm going to mix a nice light pink. This is going to be the color of the walls where these kitties live. And if I go over here, you can see that, it's a very strong pink. If you look on the close-up screen, I'm putting a a little dollop of it here on the white patch of my grayscale palette. And maybe even a little lighter, who knows. But that would be the swatch that we would buy in the store. That's the actual local color of the wall that we are imagining, all right? Just like you might see a yellow house or an orange wall or something, and it's got its actual wall color that you could mix as a paint and paint on it. But the problem is the disconnect between what we think is the local color, what we feel it is know it is in our mind, versus the context of the painting. So here, if I took this pink, which would be great to paint the walls of this cat room, if I put it on the painting here, it just looks out of control. It looks like it's too bright. I mean, that would look good maybe in the background, but that is not the right pink for that painting, because we've got everything keyed down. Remember, we're going to say basically this value here, that's white. White. And pink is a little bit darker than that white. So the pink in our painting is going to have to feel a little bit darker than what we say is white. So let's go ahead. I've mixed a bunch of colors here, and if we go top down, you'll see I've got tints of the colors that I squeezed out of my tube, and I tinted them to middle gray value. So if I take some of this Indian red and I go over to the palette, the grayscale palette, you'll see that the Indian red just kind of disappears right on there. It's the same value, right? Same thing with the ultramarine blue, with the burnt umber. Pretty much just disappears right on there. I could go through all these colors, and in fact, why don't I? Here is Terra Rosa, orangey, all right? They're all pretty much the same value. This is yellow ochre, straight out of the tube, not even a tint. Just out of the tube, yellow ochre right there. And those are, and then we got blue. We got ultramarine blue. Technically, it's not an earth tone. I mean, it used to be an earth tone. It used to be the most expensive color around. And we got the tint of that blue there. And that's as light as we're going to let ourselves get. That's it. We don't get any lighter than that. And the way that we ensure that is that here on the palette, I don't have any more white. You see this tube of white right here? There's no more. This has all been mixed up, and this, we're just going to get rid of it. Go away. No more white. I just killed a fly. So then we got these dark colors as they come out of the tube. Burnt umber, nearly black out of the tube. Right up here, look at that. Burnt umber, nearly black out of the tube. We got ultramarine blue, nearly black out of the tube. The Terra Rosa, that's more about like that value. Okay, not quite black. But the burnt umber is almost black. And then the yellow ochre out of the tube, like we said, is middle gray. 9 out of 10 times. So, what are we going to do now? Well, what we're going to do is let's paint let's wipe this off, because we're going to paint over this. And the first thing we're going to ignore the window. Let's ignore it. Okay, maybe I'll do a little bit of lighter light at the very, very end. But what we're going to first work on the trim. Let's get the white trim of the window. I'm going to go over into my burnt umber, ultramarine blue, burnt umber, ultramarine blue. See, look, this palette is what Rembrandt called those friendly colors. A family in harmony, and there they are. They really make some beautiful grays. First of all, burnt umber and ultramarine blue alone make gorgeous grays. And then you add to it Indian red and Terra Rosa, and you just get so much incredible, beautiful variety. So I'm going to start I'm going to mix colors on here. I'm going to let these grays maybe vacillate a little bit from warm to cool. You know, I could mix the actual color that I see, which maybe would be sort of a greenish, maybe. Maybe I'm going to go a little green. I'm staying all within the same value. And what I find is that, again, the structure of the painting, the bones of the composition is in the lights and the darks. And you have leeway in the color to vary it, mix it up, you know? Make it like, when I look at a white wall now, maybe I've lost my marbles a little bit. But I see so much color in white. You know, something that's supposed to just be, I'll just stare at it and I'll see blue and green and all kinds of colors, not just sort of like a gray, stark gray kind of thing. So I'm having fun by just mixing these together, and since I've tinted these values all to the same middle gray range, so I get a little glare on this, so I kind of need to go back and forth a little. I'm able to vacillate this color, vary it as I float about the canvas, and not be worried that I'm going to be losing the more important thing, which is how light or dark it is. So I'm just going to slap this on here. This is a simple composition, and I'm not going to get fussy here. There's no time to get fussy. But this will eventually be covered. We're going to cover all this foreground, and it's going to have a quite different quality when it's opaque. I tell you, opaque paint, it is different, and it's more forceful as far as creating visual impact, much more so than transparent paint or washes or anything. It's very unique. Painting is a very unique form of representing the world, you know. And it is not at all like a printed image as we're familiar with it today, be it printed by... So you can see by here with the cats, I'm going to worry about the cats and where exactly their contour is. I'm going to worry about that later. Right now, I'm going to cut in front of them because I'm painting what's, I guess you could say, behind the cats. So if the cats start looking odd because I'm chopping in front of them like so, or maybe I'm coming in through here, I only want to worry about an edge once. I don't want to have to fuss with it twice. So the first time, I'm just not going to sweat it. You know, I'm going to just do this, I guess. And I will come back when I get to the cats, we'll start worrying about it then. So right now, my brush is pretty much loaded with the white that I've been, it's not white, but it's this kind of an interesting just opalescent gray that's shifting. And so the brush now is loaded pretty much all the way to the ferrule with this white here. And one of the things I want to do is I want to create this feeling of a little ledge in the windowsill. So now, knowing that the brush is loaded mostly with white, I've kind of squeezed out the tip right now, and then I'm just going to wiggle the tip of my brush in a little bit of burnt umber ultramarine blue and just get a little bit of a dark there. And then I'm going to it's going to create a gradation right there in the brush. If I just come in here and hit that edge crisp, it's going to get an automatic little gradation going on. And we'll just push that all the way across. Simple way to gradate, gradate in the brush. You can either gradate where you have dark on one side and light on another side, or you can gradate where you have a dark or a light at the base, and you get dark or light at the tip. But those are basically the two ways that you can load a brush with gradation. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that, but okay, I'm going to just slop some of that white in and then I'm going to come back and get my little dark here, because I want to carry this line here over all the way. I want to cut it all the way across. And I want to cut it over there too. So, that's not straight at all. Let's get a little straight edge here. These are good straight edges for painting. I can't remember if I've used these before, shown you these before, but they come in all different lengths and that sort of thing. There's a bunch of ways to get straight lines, guys. There's a million ways. You can use thread. Thread is helpful, but I really got this off, man. This is way off. So I'm going to fix it. And we just fix that. We got to raise this one up a little bit. Maybe we'll end up sort of catching up with where we started, because it just got a little crooked. Maybe that's all that happened. And one more right here all the way to the end. And that's enough, whatever. I can come back maybe with a smaller brush that's cleanly loaded, and just kind of maybe smooth that gradation out a little bit. Who knows? I was always, it behooves one to, like I've said before, always kind of paint a little too much paint, a little too much color, a little too much of everything, because as you blend and wiggle and push paint around wet into wet to get it maybe to look what you're trying to do, it just gets flatter and thinner and loses a little bit of its vitality. So overdo it, and the process of recovering from that, you still have, some energy and juice going. All right, there. So now we are saying that something around that, something around this, something around here, we're saying these are all kind of like the feeling of white. All right, so now I want to mix a pink. And it's pink, so it's darker. Maybe like it's kind of the color of this wall here. If here's white, there's pink. That's about how dark it is. It's certainly, you could get a lot darker. It seems really light. But how am I going to find that color? Right now, we're trying to kind of invent a color. Well, first of all, the black and white tells us one thing, at least. It tells us the value of it. If this is white, and we're going to try to paint something that feels like pink in this context, it's going to have to be darker and pinker than that. So let's go there. Let's go there. Here, what is this? Is this darker? That's a little darker. Maybe not dark enough. I'm going to head down into a little bit more Indian red. And I'm going to say, all right, that feels darker than what I'm saying is white. Okay? So that might work. This right here. Now, admittedly, I've got a little bit of alizarin crimson on my palette. And I'm tempted to use it. And maybe I will, but I'm going to see if I even need it to start with. Now, the pink that I'm painting here, now where else could I go with this pink if I wanted it to cool off without heading towards alizarin crimson? I could start to mix some tints of ultramarine blue with the Indian red, and it'll make sort of a grayish violet. Kind of a grayish violet. Real nice color. You see it right there. Indian red is a potent color, guys. It really has a lot of momentum to shift colors into one direction or other. And there's something that feels dark, but maybe a little bit cooler, all right? One of these is going to be close, and what we're doing again is we're kind of triangulating our way towards trying to find the color. The first thing we know is, generally speaking, the value that we're aiming for. And I think we've got it. I think we're close to something here. And I'm going to get some of this and some of this and kind of wiggle back and forth between maybe this and this and this and this. And Let's put it right here next to this white. Okay. It's lighter than the color that we glazed, it. And maybe if I wanted to get, maybe I'll experiment. Okay, let me try making it a little darker. See now, the Indian red doesn't get any darker than that. So that's where either I've got to go darker with burnt umber, or I'm going to move into my alizarin crimson, which I might do. Might do it. So now, with alizarin crimson, that might be kind of what we want. It's going to certainly... okay, now the third note that I'm going to let myself head towards, if we're going to go towards that alizarin crimson, then let's also go towards this blue here and get something that's lavender. I like that. That's the color. That's the rosy color that I was aiming for. Like it. Okay. I'm going to get a little bit of juice on my brush here, and let's just lay that on. Okay, now I'm dealing with glare, so I'm gonna switch sides here for a second. That's part of boy, Bob Ross, with all that glare on those lights, kind of knowing what this is like. He might have been flying blind on some of those paintings, really kind of not seeing what he's actually doing. Just glare, you know. It's the limelight. Oh, can you feel it, guys? The limelight. So I'm going to keep laying this on, and that's good. I feel like that's going to be my pink feeling. Obviously, these flat brushes are helping out. I'm going to leave a little bit of an edge here. I'm going to overpaint that kitty cat, and I'm going to come on over here. Ultramarine Blue, alizarin crimson. Finish blocking this in here. A little more alizarin. A little more blue, a little darker. And let's just get that last splotch right about in here. Okay, now I'm leaving a little edge right there because I want to do another gradation, kind of like the same thing that we did with the little bump in the trim on the white trim. We're going to have another one. So I sort of got most of the paint out of the brush, and so now I'm going to just darken the end again. It's a trick, but that's part of painting, is just learning tricks. You know, fascinating story. How much time is there?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay. Oh boy, we got to slow down. Fascinating story. Watteau. Famous painter, Watteau. Okay, here we got this gradation. Don't let me forget that I started a story there. Let me just finish this. Okay, a little more. Got that gradation. Hopefully I'm not blocking the frame too much. When I lean in, is it like no one can see because my big dumb head's in the way? We're good? Okay. So there, got a little gradation happening. And we'll do it again. Maybe, I don't know, right here. Right here. Dark. Darker. And then what else? You know, I think we could also gradate up to this kitty cat. Right here. Because the cat, we're going to really go maybe dark or light on the cat. Doesn't matter. We could go one way or the other. We might change the color of one of these cats. But that cat is jumping up to the window. Oh, good point. So the color that I kind of mixed to make the darker white, where I just basically pushed my way further into ultramarine burnt umber. Maybe we're going to put a little drop shadow next to the kitty paw here. So I'm going to just overdo it once again, and then gradate the one side. That's fine. Yeah. See? Okay, and then we're going to blend. Looking good, I think. All right, so yeah, the funny story about Watteau, you know, tips and tricks. Watteau was a tragic figure because, like, he died, and then the style that he kind of innovated became really hot, but he died. So he didn't get to really appreciate the breakthroughs, the aesthetic breakthroughs that he made. So kind of a bummer. And artists back then were super secretive about all their techniques and stuff, man. For me doing this, talking about practical things, man, does not happen, okay? I mean, I'm doing this maybe because the world's coming to an end, so we got to beam this information out there. But back then, they were super private about it. You know, it was proprietary information. This was hard-won technological breakthroughs, and you didn't just give that to anybody because that's your competition. And so when Watteau realized that he was kicking the bucket, he invited this guy named Pater, P-A-T-E-R. That's the name of the artist, Pater. I can't remember his first name. But young guy, and Watteau invited him to his studio, and in 3 days just taught Pater everything that he frickin' knew about painting, and just dumped it. Maybe it wasn't 3 days, maybe it was a week, but Watteau died not long after. And so he sort of, and it blew Pater away. I mean, it sort of ruined the guy because everything he did after that looked like a Watteau ripoff, you know. But I'm sure that he did well selling those pieces up until they started lopping off heads. But you know, Louis the 15th, the Regency period, you know, there was a big market for these little fête galants and that sort of thing. But tips and tricks, that's what we're trying to get at here. And so when we talk about stuff, I have to try to remember that it's not dumb, even though it seems dumb. It's like, oh yeah, well, I do this. But yeah, you know, things dawn on us kind of slowly sometimes, you know. And so I don't know how this looks on the camera. Oh, look at a little fly right there. What's up, dude? You dummy. Dumb fly. Okay, let's get to these cats. The cats. And also we might change the colors of one of these cats. I think that we will. Overall, this cat's looking pretty good. Oops, look at that dirty brush. You know, just as quickly as white gets dirty, dark gets dirty. And, but this cat's really dark. We have black cats at my house. And so I'm going to go really dark. I need some more ultramarine blue here. Because, as I've said before, ultramarine blue, burnt umber, they make a magical black. And just because I want a clean spot on my palette here, I'm going to just jack this little thing right here. And I'm going to mix some black, really black. I've got a clean brush. I haven't used this brush for anything else since I last washed it with soap and water. You know, that's one thing. Maybe I'll do a show where we do a little bit on how to wash your brushes. I don't think I've done that. And we're going to get black cat up here, big time. And I'm just going to get real dark and kind of fill in the mass of the cat, the most of the cat, with that black. And then, because we're just using short, simple gradations in the beginning here, and maybe trying to kind of think in terms of composing larger shapes, larger areas, rather than getting too blendy too fast. I'm going to lay in the mass of the cat with this black here, and then I'm just going to, for fun, just because I'm going to be tricky, clever, kind of, I'm going to take a little bit of a lighter color here, and I'm going to just kind of wiggle that on one side of the brush here, so I get a tricky little gradation. You see that right there? Can you see that in the top down? Getting a gradation right there in the brush. It's tricky stuff, guys, but it's a really fine way to get a gradation. Then let's just go along the edge of this cat. Let's hit that edge with the gradated brush. Oh yeah. Huh? 20 minutes. This would be a good time for a montage. I'm going to do another little brush stroke right there for the cat's. What is that? Their leg, their hind leg. And this still has a nice gradation in it. Maybe we'll get a little tummy. Kind of do it along that edge. And maybe we'll do one edge of the arm here. And then we'll flip that gradation over and we'll do that edge on the other side. And we're making like little tubes. There was some painter that did these tubular, oh, what was their name? Tube guys. I think that they were like a degenerate artist. Oops, didn't clean that brush. I'm going to get that tail, reinstate the tail, because we lost the tail a little bit. Because we kind of went back with the color of the white trim. So now I'm just going to, and you can see whenever with like, I mean, unless you're painting a wall, you're good for a couple of strokes, and then you got to kind of head back to your palette. And then you're good for a couple more strokes, a few inches, then you're back to the palette. You're always going back and forth between the two. And now this cat, it's got, you can't really see it, I guess, but the cat does have a little, like a white patch. Okay, so I want to give the cat, let's save this. This is kind of like, we're going to keep that as my nice dark palette for if I want to go there. And then let's make the cat have green ice. So how am I going to mix green? Well, I got some ultramarine blue and some yellow ochre. That'll mix a nice green. And cats, you know, their eyes can be really kind of crazy sometimes. That's too dark. Okay, so we're going to add some more yellow ochre. Remember, I can add all the yellow ochre I want, and I'm never going to get lighter than middle gray, which is very helpful for this painting. Okay, so we're going to do it. We're playing a little ping pong, which I mean back and forth. We're back and forthing a little bit. But here we're going to get that green eye in there, and we'll get this other green eye. Maybe I overdo it. Maybe I paint the eyes too big. And then I can come back with a small size brush and get some of this dark. And then I could sort of cut the shape of the eye out. And maybe right now, before I make the shape of the eye, maybe right now I'll put the little pupil in. Boop. And this cat, it's in the dark. So this pupil is like thin. Wow, kitty. Okay, so now I'm gonna cut the shape out. There, meow. My cat, I've made a list of my cat's favorite things to say. And the first thing my cat loves to say is, wow. That's my cat's favorite thing to say, wow. And then the next favorite thing to say is mellow or hello. I can't quite tell which it is. But wow and mellow, yellow, those are very popular things with our cats. I'm going to put a little nose here, sort of pink. I don't think our cats really have pink noses, but it looks cute. They do have pink in the ears, and then you know they got kind of like, it's like a bald spot almost. Right now, I feel safe and comfortable working with anything. I can't get too off with my values to where I'm just really crazy and suddenly like painting bright, out of control colors. Because I've got my limitations that are set right there in the palette, right there, right out of the palette. I can't get lighter than middle gray. Now, I'm also experimenting with this on the other side of the scale, folks. It's kind of cool. Like right now, we're working in, I guess, what you would technically call the scuro range, because we're not working anything lighter than middle gray. But I'm also beginning to experiment with doing some paintings where I block them in, and I don't let myself get any darker than that. and then I let myself get as light as I want. Another experiment. And as I experiment, I learn, and so that's kind of part of the fun of doing the show. We're learning. So I still got this brush with this nice gradation in it. And you can flip it to one side or another. And maybe I want to get just a little bit of that light down the neck. And now with the other cat, that's where I want to change colors. So let's say I want to change colors. I want to, even though if I change colors, it's not going to look like my cats. But what if I wanted to paint a Morris cat? You know, like a, what do they call those? Orange marmalade cats? It's a marmalade cat, which means it's orange. How am I going to do that? I kind of know what value it is, I guess. It's sort of the same value as my hand, maybe, but it's orange. It's more like a leaf color or something, like a dead leaf. And so again, we can use that same principle of understanding that within the context of a painting, if I'm going to say something is white, then I have to mix accordingly. So if I go more over into, here we'll get a clean brush here. Now this brush is, but that's my brush that has the gradation in it, so I'm going to keep that over there. This brush, I've used maybe I don't know. You know, especially with limited palettes, I often find it's just better off to grab another brush and use that rather than try to clean it. But with the Morris cat, it's orange, and so if we're saying middle gray is white, then it's going to be maybe more towards the Terra Rosa. Or maybe if we get some of this Terra Rosa and we mix some of the yellow ochre with it, we're going to get something that's in the value range that we need, but yet it's going to be quite orange. So that might be right about, at least on the top, generally, of the cat. We're going to make this cat, let me see, darker. I can tell. Should have brought that burnt sienna. I'm going to regret it. No, it's okay. There's nothing you can do wrong, folks, with the painting, so don't let it worry you. We're going to make this guy an orange cat. So maybe we'll lay in the back and we'll put a little, like a front paw right there. And we're going to leave a little shadow shape for ourselves too. And we'll just keep blocking in this orange cat. You can see it's darker than what I'm imagining to be white, which is good. And we might be able to put in some, what color does an orange cat, what color are their eyes? Orange cats. Do they have like blue eyes? Oh, okay. Now I want to get a little darker, so maybe I'll get a smaller brush, and then I'm going to head into some of this burnt umber, and I'm going to mix a little bit of my Terra Rosa with that burnt umber. And I'm going to, kind of on the underside of the cat, I'm going to get a little bit darker, maybe even darker still. More into the burnt umber, just on the underside. And we're going to get some of that burnt umber on that side right there. Okay. Blue eye. That'll work, I guess. And then also what I want to do is I'm going to give it some stripes, some yellow ochre stripes. Because, I mean, don't they have like stripes or something? Meow, 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 meow. This is awful cat, guys. Terrible cat. But maybe what we'll try is we'll put orange on one side and yellow on another side, and that'll create some sort of a weird blend. I don't know. Just keep going. Yeah. I probably, well, if I was going to do this, we're winging it right now. If I wanted to I guess I could look at a picture of a cat, but we don't have time. We're not going to bother. Right, see, we got 10 minutes. There we go. Let's put some stripes on the paws here. Now, what might sell it is just to make the stripes a little bit more obvious. You know, when in doubt, just be more obvious about it. I like that idea. There's a stripe, kitty. Oh, you know, and then there's one little trick that I'm going to show you at the very end when we got maybe like 5 minutes left. Okay, now also, you know, we got a darker side, and so I want to make sure to kind of carry those lighter yellow stripes over into the dark side, the darker shadow, because that helps to sell the effect. So if I put a little slightly lighter there, then, you know, those are the stripes on the shade. Meow, meow, meow. It's my embarrassing, I talk to my cat voice. And pink nose, let's say pink nose. Pink nose. And blue eyes. So we got plenty of blue, probably too much blue. Maybe we'll add a little bit of green or yellow to it to make it kind of green. Maybe blue, or maybe, I mean, we don't want it to be the value of white. It's got to be. And we'll give it a pupil. Yeah. And then they got the cat ears, you know, but maybe we'll make these, maybe because of this cat's lighter, then the inside of the ears look like dark. Now the last thing I'm gonna do, I have a little bit of scrap light left over, and I think I could probably just scumble a little bit of a light right on that edge there, and I brought this little thing here just as like a little like a trick to show you guys. Stencils. Like it's a stencil. I got this stencil at, I don't know, Michael's. And it's kind of an interesting way to experiment with like adding some pattern. So let's add like a little pattern to the wallpaper. We're gonna say it's like a yellow ochre pattern. So I can just kind of like, we'll put it right about there. And we'll go like that. And we'll go like that. And we'll go like this. We'll go like this. And we're starting, oh, look at that. Wallpaper. Probably doesn't show up on the TV. I don't know. So let's do another one. I'm going to line this up as carefully as I can. We're going to put another one right there. And I'm going to, since I've got this thing kind of already loaded now with my, with this here, let's go up the side here too. Why not? Let's keep adding this. You know, every now and then adding a little bit of a texture or a pattern can be a nice way to break up what might be otherwise something kind of boring, you know, a boring area. This is, you know, it's an old decorating technique. This is certainly something that was employed by painters of the time and decorators too, you know. You got to look at, if you read like Vasari's book on decorating and stuff, there's a lot of techniques that those guys that would do, the artisans would do with scraping through to an underpainting color, or stenciling, things like that. You know, it's just kind of a interesting way to do things pretty quick. I'm going to add, now I'm going to kind of blot this off. Here, I'll put this up real quick so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to blot this off, and we're going to just be, you know, remember we got a gradation in the pink wallpaper, and then we're putting this pattern on it, and we want to have the gradation in the pattern as well. So where I've mixed, perfect. I'm going to mix a darker yellow that is still going to feel light in relation to my, my pattern. But I'm going to put that up at the top here. And I'm going to put that right there like that. And I'm going to do it like that. And right there. And then I'm going to take my light and I'm going to hit the bottom of it. And the bottom. And the bottom. And the bottom. And it's going to gradate into the shade. Look at that, because as we learned from Van Gogh, that is to that, as that into that. Light into shadow, two local colors rolling into dark together. So we'll do one more little one right here. So light on the bottom, and then the shade at the top. And then we got this one over here that's kind of all shade. This little dude, where is he? I'd put him right about there. It's pretty much all shade. And so then, if that was supposed to be the case, then I got that a little. I'm going to blot this off again. That's one thing you do with stencils, is you got to blot them to clean them, because you lay them down and they kind of like get dirty. C'est la vie. So we came in there with that darker value. We'll do the same thing. I want to add a darker flower right there. And probably the only thing that would rescue this would be, I don't know, just some goofy lines. Maybe you need some line work or something. Some little details. Everybody loves some little details. You know, this is when you can get out your little Sharpie brushes and put some claws in there, you know. Or maybe I'm gonna draw some little claws right there. Yeah, little claws. I'm gonna put a smile on this cat. He's smiling. This cat, why not put that smile right there? A little pink smile, and maybe we could take one of these. Make another whisker. Kind of straight lines. Use a tool that's straight. It helps. Maybe this cat's got whiskers, but they're a little bit more like dark whiskers. So we're going to put one there. One there. Cat got long whiskers. I like them. My cat's got long whiskers. Kitty. Real. That's bizarre. Total success. This is what? One minute left. Folks, we're going to leave it at that. We're going to do another show, and got no idea what we're going to do for that one. But one thing, I guess, a good takeaway is keep working on your pieces. You know, there's nothing you can do wrong on your canvas. All you can do is make it, I don't know, just further along. Is there some big judge that's condemning us for failing at painting? No. So I'm Alex. Thanks for enjoying another hour. Hope you learned something, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.